Hello and welcome to another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Courtland Warren. And this episode, we're going to just annihilate, destroy a commonly accepted idea that's actually a myth with no bearing. And we're going to show that in this episode. So are you ready? Have you ever heard the statement, either, the person just has it, or the converse might be, well, either you got it or you don't. Either you have that it factor or you don't. Well, what if you're that person who doesn't feel like you have that it? You don't have that thing. And maybe perhaps you look at other people and you see in other people things that you don't see in yourself. We'll work on that in a different episode about unfavorable comparisons. But there is this seemingly rampant idea that either you got it or you don't. You either have the skill or you don't. You either have the talent or you don't. You either have the gift or you don't. And it is based in nothingness. I want you to recall what it was like for you when you first started to learn something new, particularly when you were younger. Think about the excitement that you had at just the opportunity to learn it, be it tying your shoe, writing your name, saying your numbers, your multiplication tables, first learning to drive a car, and then on up to your current career or vocation. Oftentimes we forget what it's like to be a beginner and going through the process of actually learning. When we're younger, we embrace it with excitement, with energy, with enthusiasm, because we want to see kind of like what we're made of, but we give ourselves a chance to learn it, to understand it. And as we get older and the conditioning starts to set in and the beliefs start to set in, and then we see other people who may already do it better than us, and we have these unfavorable comparisons, then the process of learning it is we're not as enthused, or at least I'm not as enthused. But then you hear people say, well, that person, they just have it, they just got it. And I've oftentimes struggled with that idea, and I'm grateful to the great Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. He's in an interview, and someone suggests to Kobe that, he just, I'll give me just a moment to get it straight in my head. But as he's interviewing Kobe, and then the interviewer says something to the effect of, well, Kobe, don't you just kind of believe, though, that, when it comes to your talent, when it comes to your ability, like some people just have it and others don't? Wouldn't you agree that there are those who they seem to have it and others, they don't have it? And Kobe, without very much hesitation, interrupts that interview and says, well, I don't believe that, actually. And it takes the interviewer by surprise, because, really most people don't fight against that idea, right? Just kind of an accepted idea. Either you have it or you don't. And Kobe says, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't subscribe to that idea that you either have it or you don't. He said, in my view, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, in my view, if you don't have it, you can go learn it. Or if you don't have it, you can go get it. And isn't that what's actually true? To say that, well, I don't have the skill now, so I can never have the skill, is preposterous. To say that, well, since I'm not good at it today, I can never be good at it, that's ridiculous. To say that, well, I don't know how right now, and that means I could never know how, makes no sense. If you don't have it, you can go learn it. Or if you don't have it, then you can go get it. This idea that either you have it or you don't stops a lot of people in their tracks, because if I assess myself right now, I may not have it. But we're not going to stop there. As listeners to Unmuted and many of my clients that I've worked with over the years, we debunk that entire idea. And we don't let our beliefs, our limiting beliefs, our diminishing ways of thinking trap us into this box that says, I can only do what I'm currently capable of. Come on now, we're going to move through that. I can only do what I'm currently capable of is the language of people with no resilience. But for those who have resilience, you know that what you're now capable of does not compare to what is possible through the use of imagination. And so oftentimes we forget what it's like to be in the learning process. And we must be reminded that success does require enduring that process or enduring the stages of learning, and our unwillingness to do so will keep us blocked and also stuck. And so we'll go through that in this episode, the 4 stages, and recognize that as we move through those 4 stages, what's actually happening is we are developing the mindset of resilience necessary to sustain us when we get to that place that we desire to be. So we're not just going to be a flash in the pan. You're not going to just be a person. You're not going to just be the musician who's a one-hit wonder, right? Mastery and staying power requires us to enjoy the journey, to respect the process that leads us to repeating that greatness over and over and over and over again. Ultimately, that's how the greats are remembered, not because the one game they played where they got hot, not because of the one song they wrote or produced and it was a hit, not because they made the sale one time, but greatness is defined by our ability to repeat that achievement over and over and over again. We moved into a realm of it being habitual, where the excellence is habitual, not just one time, not just I did it once, but can you do it repeatedly? Can you do it consistently? Can you do it over and over and over again? When the lights are on, when people expect you to show up in a particular way, can you do it over and over and over and over again, even when the expectations continue to go up? Sometimes the people in the audience are just there to see if you can do it again. Yeah, it was luck that first time. Anybody can do it once. Okay, maybe twice. What, 3, 4, 5, 6 championships? Okay, those are the greats. Those are the greats. When you continually deliver, when you continually exceed expectations, you make a habit of high achievement. You make a habit of over delivering. You make a habit of peak performance. Why? Because it becomes a lifestyle, and all it means is that you've navigated the stages of learning in order to reach it. And most people aren't willing to do that work. So if success is indeed a habit, then how do we develop the resilience necessary to move through it? That's what this podcast is really all about. And so thank you for listening in. Thank you for letting people know that it exists. Thank you also for subscribing to the channel and for sending us, those of you who have, send us an email to info@courtlandwarren.com so that we can grow our email list and nurture the list that is not dependent on a particular platform, because as long as I build it on a platform, then I'm subject to the platform's rules. I would like to be able to contact you directly when we have offerings and so forth. So thank you to those who have been willing to do that. And if you haven't, we highly encourage you to do so. So the 4 stages of learning, we're going to look at those fairly quickly. We've covered these before, but I get a sense that, sometimes, the things that I say, it's like I'm saying the same things over and over again in a different way. And I recognize that the masters never get bored with the fundamentals. They never get bored with the fundamentals. And so there are 4 stages of learning, and most people don't get past stage 2. So if you can just get from stage 2 to stage 3, you put yourself in an elite category, and stage 4 is the stage of mastery. All right. So those 4 stages of learning are unconscious incompetence, level 1, conscious incompetence, level 2, conscious competence, level 3, unconscious competence is level 4. So let's go through those and kind of explore what each of them are individually and specifically. So stage 1, unconscious incompetence. Well, how do we describe it? Unconscious incompetence is like, this is when you don't know that you don't know something. Like, you don't know that you don't know. It's like you've never heard of a certain subject before. You don't even know what it is. So you don't even realize that you have a lack of knowledge or skill in that area. If you can imagine a person who has never played basketball before, or never golfed before, or never done a podcast before, they've never developed a funnel before, they've never made a sale before. Like if you've never done it and sometimes never even heard of it, then you don't even know that you lack knowledge or skill in a particular area. So you don't know that you are not able to do it. Okay, you're unconscious incompetence. I often say to people, be mindful of what you judge people on, right? Because choice is a function of awareness. I can't judge you for the choice that you've made unless I know what options you were aware of, okay? Because I make choices based on my level of awareness. And sometimes an individual person just doesn't know that more is possible. One of the reasons why I get so passionate about my work is because, in essence, I am showing people that they're capable of things that they didn't even know they had the capacity to do. That's stage one, unconscious incompetence. Stage two is conscious incompetence. So in this stage, you become aware that you don't know or can't do something. Okay, so you got knowledge of it, and in your knowledge of it, in the knowledge gathering phase, you realize that it's not a skill that you have, or not an understanding that you've developed. It's like when you start to learn, play golf or play basketball or build a funnel, or you get into sales and you realize that you're not very good at it. You get into it and realize that there's a lot more to it than it appeared on the surface. You become conscious, you become aware of your lack of skill or knowledge. And for many people, because this feeds a limiting belief or a diminishing way of thinking, because the not knowing or being made aware of the fact that I don't know and I'm not good, actually for many people, it's too, it reminds them of, it reinforces limiting beliefs. And as a result of that, they don't move through it. They don't move through that stage of not knowing. They quit right there at stage two. And as a result of that, they stay in their comfort zone. They stay in their comfort zone. They never move beyond it because they were faced with something that they didn't know how to do. It is evidence of a fixed mindset. And that's why Carol Dweck in her book Mindset encourages us not to, affirm children with the idea of, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart. Because when that child comes up against a learning or a subject that they don't understand immediately, because it doesn't fit their programming and conditioning, they tend to quit or give up on it faster than other children. Because the thought process, well, if I was smart, I would get this. I don't get this, so okay, I'm just going to go to something that I know. And therein begins the building of the comfort zone. My youngest son, Sterling, could likely tell you, he could probably count on one hand and still have like two fingers left the number of times that I have said to him, man, you're so smart. And he makes, he's president's honor roll in his sophomore year of college. He's president's honor roll. He made dean's honor roll. He's doing great. Even more scholarships now as he's been attending Langston University. And when he, sends a photo of the scholarship that he received or the letter that he received, when he sends it, I will reply with, man, you worked really hard for that. You put in a lot of effort to get that. And I tend to end it with, remember the work that was required in order to achieve that. I mean, of course, he's smart. Of course, he's intelligent, but I'm still working to develop his mindset so that as his life progresses and he faces difficult things, what he'll be reminded of is that if I put in the work, if I do the work, I get the reward. So what is the effort or the work that is required of me in order to get the outcome that I want? But most people, okay, they don't do that Because they didn't get it the first time, they quit. Why? Because maybe they're too concerned about being embarrassed or looking silly or looking stupid, looking dumb, being laughed at and whatsoever. And so they quit at stage 2. I know that I don't know how to do it. I know that I'm not very good at it. And so I'll just stop right here. And you hear descriptions like, well, that's not my thing. I'm not that type of person. I'm not a salesperson. You could do that, because you're good at it. You have the charisma and you have the this and you have the that. That's just not me. What they're saying essentially is they are aware of a skill that they don't have. And rather than do what's necessary to push through it, they stay where they are. I hope that makes sense. All right. So then, right, a lot of people stay at stage 2. As I said earlier, they never get to stage 3. Stage 3 being conscious competence. And conscious competence is essentially, it's this. It's when you start learning and practicing and you become more skilled and knowledgeable in a particular area. To say it differently, conscious competence is the space where you begin to do the work. It's the space where you begin to do the work. You recognize that there's a skill. You recognize that there's a skill that you don't have, but not having it isn't enough for you. You're going to do something about not having the skill. It's not enough. You're not going to subscribe to that theory of, well, either I got it or I don't. You're going to say, well, I don't have it right now, but I'm going to get it. I'm not good at it right now, but I'm going to get good at it. I don't know how to do it, but I'm about to learn. That is the stage where greatness now is starting to be born. Conscious competence. So, for example, it's like you with practice, you start improving in golf or basketball or sales. You start to improve in delivering your podcast, and you started before you were ready to go. You didn't wait to get everything perfect and all of the equipment aligned and all of those things that other people say you got to do before you even get started. Why? Because you're going to get laughed at and you're going to be embarrassed. And do you know how many different podcasts there are out there? Do you know how many great salespeople there are out there? You know how many agents there are out there? How many financial advisors out there? The market is saturated. You got to go do something unique. You got to go do something different, right? The results that those people are achieving are not typical results. Yeah. The results aren't typical, but neither is practice and self-discipline. But, that's another subject. So so you find yourself like practicing and becoming more skilled and more knowledgeable, but you still need to focus and think about what you're doing in order to be successful. Conscious competence. You're starting to see some results. You're starting to secure some wins. You're starting to bag some wins, but you're deliberate in it, and you have to focus and think about what you're doing in order to be successful. So unconscious incompetence, you don't know what you don't know. You might know that it exists, but you don't even know what's involved. Conscious competence, you start to learn that there is a skill that you don't have, and many people stop there. Conscious competence, there's a skill that I don't have, but I'm going to do the work to develop it. And then stage 4, unconscious competence. In this stage, you have practiced and you have learned so much that you can do some of it, right? You can perform the skill without even thinking about it. It becomes second nature to you. So going back to the basketball example, think about the greats, like a Kobe Bryant, like a Michael Jordan, like a LeBron James, like a Sheryl Swoops, right? Like, the great ones, like a Simone Biles, like a Venus, Serena Williams, like the greats, like a Messi, like a Gretzky. When they are on their field of play, it's as though everyone else is standing still. They make it look so easy. When you watch the greats, do it, it's seemingly automatic. and it feels like they possess some special power or gift. In truth, they've simply done the work to move through those 3 stages to get to stage 4. They didn't come out of the womb that way. They didn't start that way. And if you had access to observe them while they were moving through those stages, you would see evidence of the fact that not having it doesn't have to be the stop, because there can be that part of you that listens and develops what you don't currently have. So unconscious incompetence, you don't know that you don't know. Conscious incompetence, you realize that you don't know or you can't do something. Conscious competence, you start learning and practicing and becoming more skilled. Unconscious competence, you become so skilled that you can do something without even thinking about it. So how a framework to move through the stages? Well, we move through stage 1. We start by being unaware of a certain subject skill. You don't know that you don't know something, okay? But then you're introduced to it. It becomes a part of your awareness. There's more that you want. It may be business ownership, entrepreneurship, sales, increasing your financial liberty. Yeah, you didn't start there. You weren't born into it. It's not in your awareness. You don't even know that you don't know when it comes to making money. But that does not have to be the stopping place. You don't know that you don't know what's required to run a business. You don't know that you don't know what it means to make an offer, or to write copy, or to build a funnel, or to to sell real estate, or to secure a listing, or to move products through your distribution network. And then you somehow you are made aware of it. And in that awareness, then you realize, man, and you jump into it perhaps, and then it's like, this is difficult, this is hard. My friends and family said no. I thought they would for sure say yes. The funnel looked really simple. I thought for sure it'd be easy to do. How hard is it to get someone to let me be the one who's selling their home? I thought getting listings would be easy to do. And then you recognize and realize that it's difficult, it's hard. Conscious incompetence. And just because you don't have the skill today does not mean that you stop there. See, some of the most highly successful people are people who invest in their personal development. They invest in the development of skill. Why? Because that saves time. You can learn from a master who's been doing it for 20 years, and through learning from them, you speed up your own process, but you've got to be willing to make that investment. And there are those who, they don't have the skills, say, well, I don't got it. They look at someone who's a master in their profession and like, man, they have something that I don't have. I could never do that or be that. And they stop right there versus seeking them out to learn from them and making the investment of time and oftentimes dollars in order to speed up their learning process. They just quit and stop where they are. But not everybody, and likely not you. It is in you to be great, and you know it. And so whatever you don't have, you say, I'm going to go get, I'm going to go find it. And then you start to practice. You make another investment. You practice more. You invest more. You practice more. You develop the skill. You start to develop the ability. You start to see yourself doing it. And yeah, you have to focus and think as you're doing it, but you're seeing yourself do what others didn't think you could. You stay with that long enough and you find yourself eventually unconsciously competent. It looks automatic. And people will want to tell you, they'll want to diminish the work that you did by telling you, oh man, you're great at that. You're probably born with that. You've always had that. But they didn't see the work that you were doing late hours, early mornings, getting up and going to the gym when, it was still dark outside. with no one pushing you, no one forcing you, but because there was a part of you that you wanted to learn more about, that was on the opposite or on the other side of that discomfort, that was beyond the comfort zone. You wanted to experience that person, and so you get up and you do the work. You make the financial investment. You fly out to get work done with someone who's going to be a guide or a coach or a master in their field. And people are like, man, that's illogical. That's ridiculous. That makes no sense. I wouldn't pay that money to do that. You can learn that on YouTube. You could read a book about that. You could do this. You could do that. All the things that you hear or have heard when it comes time to make an investment. That's why you don't ask them. It is baffling to me how we ask people who don't have what we want what we ought to do in order to get what we do want. That's baffling to me. Why would you go ask a person who does not have what you want how to get something that you do want? Ask those that know. And that might require an investment of time, an investment of financial resources, an investment of mental energy, brain power. And why are you doing it? You're doing it because the one responsibility we have is the responsibility to be better than we were on yesterday. That's it. I hope that helps. It is not true that either you got it or you don't. That's a lie. It's if you don't have it, go get it. Seek out the person. Seek out the groups. Seek out the organization. Seek out the books, the recordings that will teach you how to get whatever the skill is that you're looking to develop. If this has been valuable to you, don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that this podcast exists. I'd love to support you. If there is a way that I can be of greater service or value to you, simply reach out through email at info@courtlandwarren.com or subscribe to the channel. We have a number of different offerings that are being made available more and more, it seems, each week. So at courtlandwarren.com. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time and attention and for being a listener to the podcast. This has been Unmuted. Have a great day.